That video you've probably seen, the one with rows of glowing pods, thousands of babies growing in a sleek facility, and parents picking eye color from a menu. That's not a documentary. It's not a leaked prototype. It was made by a Berlin filmmaker named Hashem Al-Ghaili as a concept film, and he confirmed to fact checkers that the facility does not exist and nothing is being built. The elite package in that video even advertised editing over 300 genes with CRISPR to choose height, hair color, and intelligence, plus a haptic suit so you could feel the baby kick through a screen. None of it is real. But here's the thing, the actual science happening right now is, in some ways, stranger than the fiction. And the question of whether babies will soon be born without pregnancy has a real answer. It's just not the one most people expect. So in this video, we're going to walk through what's actually been built, what it can and can't do, and the single biggest gap that stands between today's lab and the future everyone's imagining. And I'll tell you right now, the last piece of this puzzle is the one almost nobody's talking about. Let's start with what's real because it genuinely is remarkable. The device closest to human trials is called EXTEND, the EXTrauterine Environment for Newborn Development. It's a fluid-filled bag connected to tubes that deliver amniotic fluid, oxygen, and medications to the fetus through the umbilical blood vessels. And the detail that almost every explainer skips over is how it actually keeps the fetus alive. There's no mechanical pump. The 4-week support achieved in the landmark study used a pumpless arteriovenous circuit, meaning the fetus's own heart does all the work, pushing blood through a low-resistance oxygenator. A mechanical pump would destroy a heart that small. So the engineers designed the entire system around not having one. That's not a workaround. That's the breakthrough. Of all the groups working on artificial wombs, the team behind EXTEND at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia appears closest to solving these issues. In 2019, several members of the CHOP team joined a startup called Vitara Biomedical in Philadelphia. Vitara has since raised more than $125 million, which many see as a sign they might be preparing for clinical trials. But here's where it gets interesting. Dr. Flake, who leads the work, has refused to talk publicly about how close his team is to human trials. The entire field operates under a veil of secrecy, and CHOP representatives have declined to comment. The company is moving fast and saying almost nothing. Now, the FDA did step in. To greenlight a trial, FDA officials need to be convinced that babies who try EXTEND are likely to benefit from the system, and that they'll fare at least as well as babies who receive the current standard of care. Human trials would likely start on infants born at 22 or 23 weeks, the point where no effective treatments are currently available. But as of now, no human trials have yet been conducted, and any clinical translation remains speculative. And there's a size problem that's easy to miss. The technology has been tested on animals, including lambs and pigs. The lamb results were genuinely impressive, but premature lambs at that developmental stage are 2 to 3 times larger than a human preemie. So the equipment, which is already tiny, has to be shrunk even further before it can work on a person. That's not a science problem. That's an engineering problem. And engineering problems get solved. Here's where I need to reframe something, because the title of this video has a hidden gap in it, and I promised I'd get to it. Artificial wombs cannot grow a baby from conception to birth. Researchers do not intend to have them replace a human mother. The technology is designed to more closely resemble the prenatal environment for babies who are already developing. Every real device does what scientists call partial ectogenesis. It takes a fetus that already exists and keeps it going outside the body. The question of a baby being born with no pregnancy at all requires something completely different on the other end. The ability to create a developing embryo without a fertilized egg, without a sperm, and without a womb to start in. And that's where the second half of this story lives. And it's the part that should genuinely make your jaw drop. Researchers at Israel's Weizmann Institute have already done something that sounds impossible. Scientists grew synthetic embryo models of mice outside the womb by starting solely with stem cells cultured in a petri dish, without the use of fertilized eggs. Created without egg, sperm, or womb, the synthetic embryo models may open new avenues of research into infertility, drug testing, and growth of tissues for transplant. In the mouse version, only about 50 out of roughly 10,000 stem cells successfully self-organized. But the ones that did developed a beating heart, a folded brain, a neural tube, and an intestinal tract. Then, in 2023, Professor Jacob Hanna's team created complete models of human embryos from stem cells cultured in the lab, growing them outside the womb up to day 14, created without egg, sperm, or womb. These synthetic embryo models had all the structures and compartments characteristic of that stage, including the placenta, yolk sac, chorionic sac, and other external tissues. So you have two technologies moving toward each other from opposite ends. One group is learning how to sustain a fetus outside the body. Another is learning how to create the earliest stages of life without any biological starting material at all. The question isn't whether either of these things works. Both have been demonstrated in some form. The question is whether they'll ever meet in the middle and what happens to everything we know about birth, law, and personhood when they do. Because the law genuinely has no answer for this yet. Bioethicists have coined a new term, gestataling, for a being inside an artificial womb, because it's not clearly a fetus and not clearly a newborn. That scrambles abortion law, birth certificates, and personhood entirely. One researcher, Claire Horn, makes a point that's hard to shake. We treat being born as something that happens to a baby, but she argues that giving birth is an action a person does, and an artificial womb quietly erases that distinction. And none of this is new territory for the human imagination. A British scientist named J.B.S. Haldane coined the word ectogenesis in his 1924 book, framing it as an essay written by a student living in the year 2073. He predicted that by 2074, more than 70% of births would happen this way. He even imagined that women would still be injected with a hormone so they could breastfeed their lab-gestated children. The eeriest part isn't that he imagined it, it's how specific he was about when. The first patent for an artificial uterus was granted in 1955, decades before the first IVF baby was even born. So will babies soon be born without pregnancy? The honest answer is one half of that technology is close, and the other half exists only in mice and stem cell dishes. What's changed since the beginning of this video is that you now know the viral facility was fiction. The real device uses no pump and has only worked on lambs. The FDA is watching. A secretive company has raised over $125 million, and a lab in Israel has already grown something with a beating heart from nothing but stem cells. The two ends of this story are moving toward each other. Whether soon means 10 years or 50 depends on which half you're watching. If this kind of thing keeps you up at night or just keeps you curious, drop a comment with where you think this is actually headed. The legal angle alone could be its own video, and honestly, it probably will be. If you want to see that, subscribing is the move. And if you want to go deeper on synthetic biology and what's actually happening in labs right now versus what's being hyped, there's a video right there that picks up exactly where this one left off.